Hello, my lovely wannabe entrepreneurs. Welcome to another late night show. I say late because it's already 3 a.m. where I am seated at the moment. I'm a night owl. You already know this. You know me better than I know myself. Very emotional. No, but I mean, we've been talking for already, what, 2 years? I actually just noticed that it's been a year since I started practicing Muay Thai, which was one of my goals of 2022 to find a sport that I would be able to do regularly. And I did. I did find one, Muay Thai, and I feel that I'm better at it. Not by a long mile, but I feel more flexible. My kicks are better, my sparring is better. And of course, it's always a great way for me to exercise because if there's something that I've noticed is that being an indie hacker can be quite lonely. And even though I have a co founder now, which definitely helps, it's still a very kind of lonely endeavor, right? So I used to work in a bigger company with my colleagues that I got to see every day, and now I'm basically see nothing. I'm at my home, and yeah, it's I've been doing this for, or rather working from home for what, since before COVID, really, or since COVID. So it's been already, I don't even know, 3 years or 3.5 years or 4 years. I don't even know. So yeah, it gets a bit crazy. And recently, one thing that I've done that actually helped a lot is to institute the office day. Basically, one day per week where I go work from a co working space. And you might think that this would be easy to implement because we are making money now and I have a co founder, but not really because my co founder is a kind of guy that never wants to leave his place. So it took me a lot of convincing to get him to join into this office day. But yeah, I think for me it feels good. I want to get more indie makers and create a little bit of a team, where we could just go and work from this place. And we found a really cool co-working space, very indie. There's actually a pool, which is crazy. Hopefully tomorrow we'll get to test it. But yeah, it's really nice. It's open 24/7, which is really unique. Most co-working spaces are not. So João and I, again, night owls, both of us, we just like to work until like 10 and then go and find some good restaurant where we can just go and eat. So yeah, and we tend to be quite productive actually. We tend to be quite productive. Last week, I don't know. It's weird because actually, let me know what you think about. Is remote work more or less productive? I think it really depends on the type of work you're doing and for how long you are doing it. I don't know if you ever experienced this, but normally back in the day, when I had actually to go to work at a specific time, I would use an alarm clock. I still do. I still use alarm clocks, clocks, obviously, but I guess they are not so strict unless I have a meeting or so. They're not so strict. But back in the day when they were strict, I don't know, I just it was really hard for me to wake up. I would just hit the snooze button and I found this alarm clock where I could record a message to myself in the future. So if I had an important meeting or if I just wanted to maybe arrive a bit earlier to the office, I would just record myself saying, "Hey Tiago, wake up. You want to do this, so just don't let your sleepy personality to just drag you down." And funny enough, that worked. That actually worked really well for the first week. Yeah, in the first week I was excited. I would go to bed and think, hey, is this going to work? And it did. But then I just got used to that. I got used to that and it stopped working and I just stopped using it. And the reason why I'm saying it is because it's kind of the same with remote work. Like when you first move from your office, working with others around to your remote work home office, it works really well. There's no distractions. It's something new. You are excited and you get more shit done. However, after 2 years of doing this, you will find your distractions. Yeah. You'll find your YouTubes, your Twitters, your emails, whatever you have on your desk. And your motivation starts going down because I don't know, I start to realize that I, most of my time is spent working, and most of my working time is spent at home. So I never leave my place, which is a bit sad. But then when we went to this co-working space and we were there together, I don't know, it felt that it was easier. The communication was easier. We were more productive. At the same time, I felt more social. We got a bunch of meetings done. Things were like just going along, cruising along much faster. It was so much easier. So I don't know. I think maybe, and again, this is controversial, but maybe the best balance here is to have an hybrid mode, or and you could just still keep your freedom. So let's say you wanna go travel, you wanna do something else, and you don't need like to go to the office, but it's good to have the option. And one thing that Spotify does, which is really cool, at least they were doing back in COVID times, is that they have people spread all around the world, but then they rent co-working spaces so that everyone, let's say, that is in Amsterdam, they can go and work from there. So I find that concept really cool, and I don't know. In my opinion, this is a great way to organize your company. Yeah. So tomorrow we're going to do that. Now you might be thinking, okay, Tiago, you are a social guy. You are an extrovert. I wouldn't say that I'm social, but I'm an extrovert. That classic definition that I get energy by socializing, by being with others. And then João is the opposite, is an introvert. So how does that work? Like, it's been already 3 months that we are working together in this project. The honeymoon phase is over. How are you handling this? I guess that's your question, or I'm assuming it is. And I have to say, so far it's been really good. I think it's not easy to find a good co-founder, and I have had my share of bad co-founders with a lot of frustration. Once you have one bad co-founder, it's like the project is dead, to be honest. Like while you are working together, the project is dead because you don't feel confident. You don't feel, it's not fun. It's a drag. You don't like it, and yeah, it kills your motivation. So I was always very cautious when I started this indie journey to bring people. And one rule of thumb that I try to follow is, some people would sometimes say that they would want to help, but what I always tried to do was to give them a task that was not very high priority, a task that I could live without. It's a nice to have. So that way they will never kill my productivity, my motivation, and if they do something cool, great, and I get to evaluate them that way. With João is different because I've known him for a long time, and I've known him as an entrepreneur. Actually, I don't know if I think we told this story before, but for the ones that didn't hear that, the way we met was I was basically doing one of my first projects, like this like shitty website using PHP. I was basically figuring out how to code and make websites, and I made this website, and then what, right? I didn't know what to do next, how to make money, how to get people to use it, and etc. And I opened this magazine because back then entrepreneurship was really trending, and I saw João in the cover. I was like, yeah, young entrepreneur creates these vertical farms and stuff like this. And I was like, wow, that's cool. So I just emailed him, because back then, and still now, I just send emails without thinking too much about it. There's people, João being one of them, that take a lot of time to write emails, and They just, I don't know, they just want to be perfect. I just don't care. I just send the emails. So I sent him an email and he answered back. And since then, we have been exchanging ideas and helping in each other's projects for like 12 years or so. It's crazy. But yeah, so I knew that he had the drive. I think drive is really important, especially when you're starting out. It's really important to have drive. That you want to figure things out, you want to do things, and for sure he has. Like, he has learned how to do all the front end HTML, CSS, and he didn't know that previously. So he's like learning a lot. So that's really important. He has that. And then you need to have a personality, like you need to match, right? Like, because I'm the kind of guy that I can be really stubborn sometimes, and that's a bit annoying. For the things that I care about, there are certain things, like a lot of things I don't care, and but for the things that I really care about, I have a particular way of doing things, and I can be really stubborn. I think that's also a quality for me, because without that, I don't think I would be here in this position, being indie maker. But at the same time, can be annoying for people around me. So yeah, he's able to deal with that really well. He's very chilled. He doesn't care too much. He allows me sometimes to take the shots, which is something that is really important for me. So yeah, I think we have a really great relationship, and of course that's it's still it's we're always talking with each other, and we are very close. And at some point there, of course, there's times where we get into each other's nerves, for sure. There's a day where, I don't know, for instance, now it's like super hot, right? It's super warm outside, and that just affects your mood. And then we have no boundaries, right? So we just we get upset with each other. We are a little bit more strict, and things that are definitely unfair, but we do that because every day we're working with each other. We also have some disagreements sometimes into things that we want to do. It doesn't happen too much, and we're able to solve it. But I don't know. For instance, he does not believe too much in this idea of business partners that I'm trying to pursue, right? Where we give 40% commission to people that want to be kind of market representatives of PodSqueeze. So he doesn't believe in that. And so, yeah, sometimes that can be a bit annoying, and it's the same for me, right? There are certain ideas that he has that I don't really like or support, and yeah, that can be frustrating. So yeah, there's a need for compromise, like everywhere, like in any relationship, right? You need to compromise. So that's basically it. We try to compromise, and we I think it's important to try to put ourselves in each other's shoes, because I don't know, I'll give you an example. So we recently figured out something that is a bit troubling, which is our churn rate is actually quite high. So after researching a little bit on Google, the churn rate for SaaS should be around 5% per month or so. But ours is in the 20s. Yeah. So that's very high. 20% of our users drop every month. And we kind of ignored that for a while because I assumed that Stripe was not doing the calculations right. But then, yeah, I took some time to really dig into that, and I realized, yes, our churn is quite high. Turns out that after asking around, a lot of AI products have very high churn, which is interesting. I guess because of this whole trend, and everyone wants to experiment with AI. They think AI will change their lives, and then they realize actually it's not changing their lives, and they end up dropping. But yeah, so I don't know. So we were like figuring that out, and that got us a bit annoyed and worried, because we think that if we stop for some reason to have new users coming in, our product will die quite fast. And at the same time, a few people were like complaining. There are these days, I don't know why, but there are specific days where people just use the support chat more than other days. Like most of the days, like today, there was almost no messages. But some days, like 3 or 4 people come and complain there's something doesn't work that affects your mood. And then I was also working some other task, a task that really required focus, coding task. And then suddenly João gets, a little bit anxious, and he starts seeing all these messages of people complaining. He's thinking about the churn. He's like Tiago, we need to fix this. We need to fix the product. This is really important. And I was like, hey, I'm working this task. He's like, no, this is really important. He's like sending me voice messages, and I can really see that he's upset. And then I get upset as well, because I think like, come on, like we should not stress for these small things, because I'm now focused, and this is nothing super prior like important. And yeah, I got a bit upset as well. Not upset, but I got a bit annoyed. And then I tried to make this exercise of like, okay, let me put myself in his shoes, because you need to trust that I trust him, and I know that he wants our product to succeed, and he knows that the same from me, right? So I don't think he would sabotage the product on purpose. There's probably a reason why he's anxious about this. And yeah, I start to think about it, and I try to put myself in his shoes, and I think, okay, he's not a developer. He never worked in a product like this, a tech product. So he's a freelancer, a designer, but he never worked in the tech product. Like for me, I know this. I know that when I worked in the startups, in the tech, like there's always bugs. And if you're a developer, you probably understand this. There's always this trade-off, this running discussion where developers don't want just to fix bugs, and PMs want you to fix bugs, and like where is the trade-off between building something new and basically fixing bugs? Yeah, but he's not aware of that, and it just gets him anxious because he cannot code himself. He was even like thinking maybe I should learn for sure, but yeah, so he just wonders that it's something to do with our product. Our product is just not good enough. And he also made a very valid question, which is like, hey, we built this in 2 weeks. Why is it taking so long now to build small features? Which I answered that for every new feature that you bring, you need to maintain it, right? So you bring something that works in, let's say, 60% of the cases, but then 40% it doesn't work. And you improve it so that it works in 80% of the cases, but there's always people complaining. So yeah, when I tried this exercise of putting myself in his shoes and understand, like it was so much easier as well to communicate with him. So we just said, hey, I explained as well that this is normal, that this happened in multiple companies before when I was working there, that, bugs were normal, and we needed to come up with a system to prioritize things. Like, I don't want to say Scrum because we're just two, but like something like that. So we have our Trello, and on this Monday, we're just trying to prioritize everything we wanted to do and all the tasks, so we know what we should focus on, and we try to agree upon on the things that are really prior, right? So only if the website is down or something like that, we would actually stop whatever we're doing to fix that. Yeah, so that's the kind of things that happen. I think in general, very, very positive, super bright guy. And I think we have a great team. We're just two of us, but we have a great team. And I'm sure that if we expand the team, I need to find more people like him, But yeah, I just want to be honest here. And there's, of course, low points as well. But I think that's normal, right? And I think it's important to talk about it. I think it's important to put ourselves in each other's shoes. And to solve the churn problem, we came up with the solution of basically asking our users what was going on, obviously. And we also now have a form where before you cancel, you need to just like give a reason why you're canceling it. So yeah, hopefully with that data, we'll be able to like further analyze. And I think it's been a mix of a lot of things. Two people said that they found basically Buzzsprout, which is a big company that also hosts podcasts, also offers now like the possibility of creating timestamps and this kind of stuff. And they just decided to use that instead of us, which is a bit worrying, right? Some people had some problems. Some people they liked the product, but they stopped their podcast, so they had to stop. So there's multiple reasons. There was nothing completely, I feel that there was nothing connected to the product itself. Yeah, a few complaints, but nothing too much. I think it's just a lot of different reasons. But now we have the information, and yeah, how do we feel about that? Right? How do we feel about having high churn and knowing that people are going to the competition? I have to be honest with you. It's a mixed feeling. Like, it's been 2 years since I started doing this. 2 years. So I'm feeling a little bit dumb to all this uncertainty. For me, this is my lifestyle. This is my life. This uncertainty is part of my life, and it doesn't affect me too much. So if for some reason the product dies tomorrow, which won't happen, but if it just starts dying, I'll just start something else or do some freelancing or work for someone. I don't know. I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that. Of course, that at the same time, I don't want to make bad decisions and I want to keep this growing. And I was asking as well to a bunch of people, like, what should we do? Like, what should be the next steps? And I talked a bit about that in the past episode. Like, can we keep on bootstrapping? Shall we raise money? Yeah, for some reason, it seems that we're in a perfect position to raise money because we are making money already. So it's easy to somehow show this to the investors. But yeah, in the other hand, like, I don't want to do it. I don't know if you understand this, but I like to live life in my own terms. That's also one of the reasons why I'm indie maker. So if I bring other people along, I guess this pressure will just increase, and I don't want to have pressure. I want to have fun. Yeah, so we are thinking about this because in the same time, again, we have these competitors growing and we have platform risk and we have all of this. And I can only think about what happened with Twitter, right? I interviewed Luca about it, and you saw how sad he was about basically losing his project. And recently there was a really good newsletter from Tony Dean. Tony Dean, I interviewed him in the podcast. You should definitely listen to that interview, by the way. I've learned a lot with him. But yeah, he built Black Magic, which is a tool for Twitter, and it was making already 16K MRR, which is really good. Like in about 2 years, he reached that, and or even less. And he actually got an offer before this whole Twitter scandal thingy for, I think, $500,000, which he turned down, which is crazy. I mean, $500,000 is really, really good. But yeah, at the same time, he wanted to continue, but then there was this huge platform risk, which was exploited to his maximum. Like, I mean, this is really worst case scenario, where basically Twitter gets acquired by Elon Musk and he's like crazy, completely crazy, and destroys Twitter and comes up with this crazy price where companies would need to pay $40K a month to use their API. And then he was very stressed. He didn't know what to do. There were a bunch of options, but one of them, I guess the most logic one, would be to sell it. And he sold the company, but he didn't sell for $500,000. He sold for, I think, $120K, which is good. But it's really also not really good because it's actually less than his ARR. When you sell a company, normally you think about 5 times your ARR, so annually, recurring revenue, or 10 times even. But for less, that makes no sense. It's a shitty deal, I think, in my opinion, because you end up selling, and the companies, the investors will get their money back in at least a year, right? So yeah, I didn't like this. Also, the company that acquired is Hype Fury, and I got a bit annoyed with them because when this whole thing around Twitter was happening, they were just kind of trying to get all the clients. So they trashed Tweet Hunter and they say, hey, Tweet Hunter users, because their license was taken down for a few hours, so they immediately tried to poach all their clients. So I didn't like this. Yeah, so I was a bit surprised because it's really low. Plus, it will still work for them for 1 year without salary. So you need to discount that. In the end, he was saying that with the project in total, so including all the money he was able to take from the project plus the sale, he was able to make around $330,000, which is amazing. I mean, it's really good. It's life. I don't know. Here in Europe or in Lisbon, at least, you can buy a flat from that money, which is really good. I guess he's living in Vietnam. Probably things are cheaper, so it's really good money. So it's definitely considered a success. I'm not saying it's not, but at the same time, it feels that it ran short. Now, do you think this was a good decision? I would love to hear your thoughts. Like, do you think it was good for him to just sell, and because he has other projects, or do you think he should have like taken another route, maybe negotiate a better deal? Or one thing that FeedHive did was to give the possibility for users to use their own API key. Of course, that would mean a cut in their MRR, but I don't know. Would that be better? Yeah, I would love to get your thoughts on that. Just send me a DM on WB Tiago. But yeah, it's a beautiful world. This indie world, this indie community. The more I am part of it, the more I'm excited about it. I feel that this is a much better way to conduct business. Not so much connected with like the this capitalism. Like when we see what happened with Twitter, it's pure capitalism, and I hate this. That one person can just acquire a whole platform because he can, and he just damages everything and ruins a bunch of business because he can, because he has the money. Yeah, I don't think this should be legal. This is really unfair. So at the same time, this kind of money, this kind of thought comes as a consequence of this capitalist society where we just live around money, and people that have money can do whatever they want. And it's okay to do certain things for money. When you are indie hacker, it's different. You think more about your users, you think more about you making your money, but without, owing money to others. It's more pure. And I'm not saying that this works for every product. Of course, there's products that require investment, but at the same time, there's a lot that don't. And one idea that I'm kind of bouncing around is to create an indie hacker conference. I think it would be super cool. The idea would be to indie hackers to meet each other, have a couple of people come and give talks about their experiences and great tools. And I think Lisbon is a great place to do that. So I might do that. What do you think? Would you join? I would love to hear your thoughts on that. I think it would be cool. At the same time, I feel that I don't have any capacity to focus on other projects. I feel bad because the community, I'm still of course participating on it, and I work on it for a bit, but there's a lot of things that I should do more that I'm not doing. So like most of my focus is on Pod Squeeze, which is okay, but makes me wonder what will come in the future. Will I start other projects? Will I just focus on Pod Squeeze? I don't know. Something for me to think about. And yeah, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to share with all of your indie maker friends. There's a lot of interviews as well, interviews with people that I've learned a lot from. So make sure to go and check it out at WB or wannabe-entrepreneur.com/episodes. If you want to join the community, it's a community for indie makers. You can meet people, you can exchange ideas, and you can support this podcast while doing that. Costs $10 per month, and the links will be in the show notes. This was another Wannabe Entrepreneur. See you next time. All right, go to bed tomorrow. Co-working space. Office day, baby.